My story is called The Adventures of Dan the DNA. There once was a DNA strand called Dan. He had never been out of his home nucleus before. One day he decided he wanted to explore. Dan is made up of a nucleotide, deoxyribose. But to get out of his nucleus, he had to leave part of that behind. In order for him to do this, he had to unwind. So he unwinded to become something else. This something was called mRNA, which will carry Dan's encoding information. All of this falls under a process called transcription. mRNA would go explore for Dan, and so mRNA left the nucleus, making its way through the clear jelly's cytoplasm. Next stop, the ribosome. Once mRNA was at the ribosome called over his friends. His friends were called tRNA. tRNA looked funny with an amino acid head and anticodon feet. Despite him looking funny, tRNA was a very important friend to have. tRNA was a very smart friend. He could figure out which genetic code went with which amino acid very quickly. The tRNA began to attach themselves. They fit in perfectly. Soon the amino acids would come too. The amino acids arrived. They all linked together by things called peptide bonds. With the amino acids there, tRNA's job was done. That process is called translation. Translation was over, but mRNA had to ask tRNA for a favor. Since tRNA was leaving, he could finish the adventure. mRNA asked tRNA to tell Dan all about the adventure. After all, he helped create the entire process. And thanks to Dan, we all have proteins. The end.